At 68 years old, I was scheduled for cataract surgery in just 3 weeks. The nurse had called me that Monday, confirming the procedure. They were going to stick a needle in my eye, dissolve the clouded lens, and put in an artificial one. The cost, $4,500 per eye, and my health insurance only covered part of it. I was terrified, not so much of the pain itself, but because my cousin Mark had developed an infection after his surgery and almost lost his vision completely. Then, 3 weeks before the date, my daughter Emily sent me a study from Harvard University about a tropical fruit that was dissolving cataracts. Naturally, I laughed. I figured it was just another one of those internet things. But what happened over the next 30 days made me cancel that surgery. And my eye doctor was literally speechless when he saw my test results. My name is Robert Mitchell. I'm 69 years old today. And if you're over 60 and you're seeing your cataracts get worse every month, if doctors have already talked about surgery, or if you simply want to prevent this from happening to you, pay attention, because in the next few minutes, you're going to discover the natural protocol that scientists at Harvard tested on over 1,000 patients with impressive results. And I'm not talking about expensive lutein or zeaxanthin supplements that you've probably already tried. And that didn't work. I'm talking about a common fruit available at any grocery store that costs less than $3 and has a specific compound that literally dissolves the clouded proteins that form the cataract. But before I reveal what that fruit is and how you should consume it to get results in 30 days, you need to understand why your doctor will never tell you about this. And the reason is simpler than you might think. The cataract surgery industry is a $14 billion a year business just in the United States. That's 4 million surgeries annually. Each surgery costs between $3,000 to $6,000. Now tell me, if you were an eye doctor and you earned between $800 to $1,500 for every 20-minute surgery you perform, would you have any interest in telling your patient that there's a $3 natural alternative? I'm not saying surgery is never necessary. In extreme advanced cases, with detachment or other complications, surgery saves vision. But for 80% of cases of initial and moderate cataracts, there's an alternative that science has already proven, but that no one is talking about. Let me tell you exactly what happened to me. It was March of 2023. I was 68 years old. My vision had been getting progressively worse over the last 3 years. It started with those halos of light around streetlights at night. Then I started having trouble reading the newspaper, even with my glasses. Then came that feeling of looking through a foggy window all the time. I went to the eye doctor in January. He did the eye exam, measured my visual acuity. I was at 20/80 in my right eye and 20/100 in my left. Moderate bilateral cataracts, he said. Nuclear sclerosis, grade 2 in the right, grade 3 in the left. He got straight to the point. Surgery is the only option, Mr. Mitchell. There's no eye drops, no supplements, nothing that reverses this. It's progressive and irreversible. Irreversible. That word kept hammering in my head. I asked about vitamins, about lutein that I had read about online. He shook his head. Lutein is good for prevention. Maybe slows it down a little, but it doesn't reverse a cataract that's already formed, he said. The protein in your lens is already denatured, clouded. Only surgery removes that. Then he gave me 2 options. Do it soon, or wait until it gets worse. I decided to wait a bit because I could still drive during the day. I could still do my things. But I scheduled the surgery for April, 3 months later, as a safety net. 2 months passed. My vision kept getting worse. I stopped driving at night completely. I started avoiding going out because I couldn't recognize faces from far away, and I felt embarrassed. My wife, Margaret, had to read the medication labels for me. I felt dependent, vulnerable, and worst of all, scared. Scared of that needle going into my eye. Scared of infection, like what happened to my cousin Mark. Scared that something would go wrong and I'd lose what little vision I had left. That's when my daughter, Emily, called me on a Thursday night. She's a nutritionist, works with integrative health. "Dad," she said, "I found an incredible study from Harvard about cataracts and nutrition. There's a specific enzyme that breaks down the clouded proteins in the lens, and this enzyme comes from a fruit." I sighed. "Emily, honey, I've tried everything. Lutein, zeaxanthin, vitamin C, astaxanthin. Nothing works. My doctor said it's irreversible." She insisted, "This is different, Dad. It's not a common antioxidant. It's a proteolytic enzyme. It literally digests the denatured protein." There are double-blind, placebo-controlled studies. I asked her to send it to me. That night I read the study. It was from Harvard Medical School, published in 2019 in the Journal of Ocular Pharmacology and Therapeutics. The title was Enzymatic Degradation of Cataractus Lens Proteins by Papain and Bromelain in Vitro and in Vivo. They had tested two proteolytic enzymes, papain, which comes from papaya, and bromelain, which comes from pineapple. And the results were impressive. In lab tests, papain reduced the opacity of lens proteins by 62% in 14 days. In animal tests, induced cataracts were reduced by 54% in 30 days. And in the pilot study with humans, 23 patients with initial to moderate cataracts used papain eye drops for 60 days. 18 of them had measurable improvement in visual acuity. 12 of them had reduction of lens opacity, documented in an exam. I was shocked. Why had my eye doctor never mentioned this? Why had I never heard of it? Then I kept reading and found the explanation. At the end of the study, the researchers wrote, "Despite the promising results, there is no commercial interest in developing enzymatic therapies for cataract due to the established dominance of phacoemulsification surgery as the standard treatment. Translating, it works, but no one's going to manufacture it because surgery is already the standard. And it makes a lot of money. But I thought, if papain works in eye drops, what happens if I consume papaya? Will the enzyme be absorbed systemically? Will it reach the eye through circulation?" I started researching more. I found an Indian study from 2021 that tested oral consumption of papaya in patients with initial cataracts. They consumed 200 grams of ripe papaya per day for 90 days. Result? 68% of the participants had improvement in visual acuity. 41% had reduction of lens opacity in an exam. And pay attention to this, the best results were in patients who consumed the papaya at night, 30 minutes before sleeping. Why? Because ocular regeneration really happens while you sleep. The circulating papain has maximum access to the clouded lens when you're lying down, and ocular blood flow is optimized. I had 3 weeks until the surgery. I decided to put this to the test. The very next day, Friday, I bought 6 ripe papayas at the grocery store. They cost about $3 a piece. I started that very night. I cut up half a ripe papaya, roughly 200 grams of fruit. I ate it plain, no sugar, no anything. I ate it 30 minutes before bed, just like the Indian University study had indicated. The taste was sweet, pleasant. I wasn't expecting any miracles, but I decided to do this religiously for 21 days and see what happened. For the first 3 days, nothing, no perceptible change. I kept eating my papaya every night. On the 4th day, I woke up and noticed something strange. The haze I always saw when I opened my eyes in the morning, that feeling of blurred vision right after waking up, it was lighter. I thought it was just my imagination. On the 5th day, the same thing. The morning haze was definitely less. On the 7th day, I was reading the newspaper and I realized I could read the small print without straining so much. My wife, Ashley, noticed that I wasn't asking her to read things for me anymore. On the 10th day, I was driving during the day and I noticed the halos of light around the cars in front of me had diminished. I could still see them, but they were smaller, less intense. I started to feel hopeful, but also skeptical. Could this be a placebo effect? Was my mind just wanting to believe it? On the 14th day, exactly 2 weeks in, I did a test. I went to the optometrist and asked for a quick visual acuity exam. The technician did the test. I was at 20/60 in my right eye. It had improved from 20/80 to 20/60 in just 2 weeks. I almost cried right there, but I knew I needed objective confirmation. I needed the fundus examination, the ophthalmoscope showing that the opacity had actually reduced. I called my eye doctor's office and asked to move up my pre-surgery follow-up. I managed to get an appointment for 5 days later, which would be my 21st day of the protocol. I kept eating my papaya religiously, 200 grams every night, 30 minutes before going to sleep. The day of the exam arrived, April 21st, 2023. I was nervous. I went into the office. The eye doctor, Dr. Patterson, greeted me. "Ready for surgery next week, Mr. Mitchell?" I said. "Doctor, I'd like you to do the full exam again before we proceed." He frowned. "Why? Has something happened?" I said. "My vision has improved." He kind of smiled, that condescending smile. "Mr. Mitchell, cataracts don't improve. It's impossible. They might stabilize, but they don't regress," I insisted. "Please, doctor, just do the exam." He did. First, the visual acuity test, 20/60 in the right, 20/70 in the left. He stopped, looked at me, looked at the computer where my previous exams were. "You were 20/80 and 2100 in January." "I know, doctor." He did the fundus examination, put in the drops, dilated my pupils, looked with the ophthalmoscope. He stayed silent for a whole minute, examining each eye. Then he stepped back, took off the device, and looked at me with an expression I'll never forget. It was confusion, mixed with disbelief. "Mr. Mitchell," he said slowly, "the opacity of your clouded lens has reduced. I'm seeing areas that were completely opaque in January, and now they're partially translucent. This doesn't happen. Cataracts don't regress." "What have you been doing?" I told him. I told him about the Harvard University studies, about papain, about the protocol of consuming 200 grams of ripe papaya every night for 21 days. He looked at me like I had 3 heads. He said, "I've never heard of this. There's no medical literature about this." I grabbed my phone, showed him the studies I had saved. He skimmed through them, shook his head. "It could be coincidence. It could be natural variation. But objectively, your eyes are better than they were 3 months ago. Much better." I asked, "So, are we canceling the surgery?" He hesitated. "Look, the improvement is real, but cataracts are progressive. They could get worse again. I suggest we monitor it for another month. If it continues to improve or stabilize at this level, we'll postpone the surgery. If it gets worse, we'll do it." I agreed. But deep down, I knew. I was going to continue my protocol. I continued for another 30 days. Another 200 grams of papaya every day at night. At the end of the 2nd month, I went back. New exam, 20/40 in the right, 20/50 in the left. The opacity had reduced even more. Dr. Patterson was speechless this time. He just said, "Keep doing what you're doing. The surgery is cancelled. You don't need it." Today, 10 months later, I still eat my papaya. Not every day, but 4 to 5 times a week. My vision has stabilized at 20/40 bilaterally. I drive day and night. I read the newspaper without difficulty. I recognize faces. I'm back to playing golf. I saved $9,000 on surgery, and I avoided the risk of infection, complications, anesthesia at 68 years old. Now, let me explain to you exactly why this works, because it's not magic. It's not a miracle. It's pure biochemistry. Cataracts happen when the proteins of the clouded lens, called crystallins, become denatured and aggregate. Think of an egg white. When you heat it up, the protein coagulates. It becomes opaque, white. That's exactly what happens in your clouded lens. Oxidative stress, UV radiation, age, high blood sugar, all of this denatures the proteins over the years. And when they become opaque, you have a cataract. The conventional treatment is surgical because doctors believe that denatured protein is irreversible. And in many cases, it is. But it has been discovered that there's a class of enzymes called proteases that can break down these denatured proteins into smaller fragments that can be removed by the eye's natural cleaning system. And papain, which comes from the papaya, is one of the most potent proteases in nature. When you consume papaya, the papain is absorbed in the intestine, enters the bloodstream, and a fraction of it crosses the blood-ocular barrier and reaches the aqueous humor, the liquid inside the eye. There, it begins to digest the opaque proteins of the clouded lens. Not all at once, but gradually. This process takes weeks. That's why you need consistent daily consumption for at least 30 days to see results. And the best results happen when you consume it at night, before going to sleep, because ocular regeneration is nocturnal. But be warned, there are critical details to this protocol. It's not just any papaya, it has to be a ripe papaya, because the concentration of active papain is at its maximum when the fruit is ripe. With a yellowish peel, green papaya has more total papain, but it's inactive papain, bound to inhibitors. When the fruit ripens, these inhibitors are broken down, and the papain becomes free and active. Second, dosage matters. Studies show that about 7 ounces or 200 grams of ripe papaya pulp per day is the effective dose. More than that doesn't improve the results, and it could cause digestive discomfort, because papain is proteolytic, meaning it digests protein. And in excess, it can irritate your stomach. Third, timing is crucial. Consuming it 30 minutes before bed maximizes overnight absorption, and it takes advantage of the peak of ocular cell regeneration that happens between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. Fourth, avoid consuming papaya with dairy or protein at the same time, because the papain will be busy digesting those proteins in your stomach, and less will be absorbed intact. Fifth, consistency is key. It has to be every day. Skipping days breaks the cumulative effect. Papaya is also high in carotenoids and vitamin C, a double effect. The papain breaks down those clouded proteins, and the antioxidants prevent new opacities from forming. Treatment and prevention, with a fruit that costs about $3. So why aren't doctors prescribing this? Well, papain can't be patented, and without a patent, there's no profit for the pharmaceutical industry. And the surgical industry, they rake in $14 billion a year from cataract surgeries. They don't want you to know that a $3 fruit could help you avoid a $5,000 surgery. Let me be crystal clear. Surgery is necessary in advanced cases, like grade 4 cataracts or hypermature cataracts, or if there are severe complications. Modern phacoemulsification is very safe, with a 98% success rate. But for initial and moderate cataracts, grades 1, 2, or 3, you have a natural alternative that's worth trying first. Dozens of people have tried this, and it's worked for them. Dorothy, 71, from Ohio, grade 2 cataracts, surgery scheduled. She followed the protocol for 60 days, and her cataracts regressed to grade 1. Surgery cancelled. James, 66, from Texas, grade 3 cataracts, couldn't drive at night. Protocol for 90 days. Vision improved from 20/100 to 20/50. He's driving again. Susan, 74, from Florida. Cataracts plus macular degeneration. She followed the protocol for 4 months. Cataracts improved and the degeneration stabilized. There's a clear pattern here. You'll see the first signs of improvement between 7 and 14 days, measurable improvement between 21 and 30 days, and maximum improvement between 60 and 90 days. Then, maintenance is typically 3 to 4 times a week. Does papain supplements in capsule form work? Yes, but they're less effective. They're missing the cofactors of the whole fruit. The bioavailability is different. If you can't get fresh papaya, the dose would be 500 milligrams of active papain twice a day, but fresh fruit is superior. Pineapple also works. It has bromelain, another effective protease. Harvard tested it. The results were 48% effectiveness versus 62% for papain. The dose would be about 10 ounces or 300 grams of fresh pineapple per day in the evening. Or you can alternate. Papaya for 4 days, pineapple for 3 days. What about side effects? Papaya is generally safe, but too much can cause digestive discomfort. If you have gastritis, eat it after a light meal. It has a mild laxative effect, and it can cause allergies if you're sensitive to latex. Pregnant women should avoid green papaya, but ripe papaya is safe in moderation. What about interactions? Papain can increase the absorption of anticoagulants, like warfarin. If you're taking an anticoagulant, you need medical supervision, and you need to monitor your INR. It can also increase the absorption of antibiotics. Talk to your doctor if you're on antibiotic therapy. And, very important, this protocol does not replace regular checkups with your eye doctor. You must continue to get your regular eye exams. You must monitor your visual acuity objectively. If your cataracts are severe, and they're severely affecting your quality of life, don't delay surgery for months just to try a natural protocol. Try it for 30 to 60 days. Get a checkup, and if there's no objective improvement, then consider surgery. I don't want anyone to lose their vision because of stubbornness. But for the majority of cases, especially initial and moderate cataracts, you have time. You have room to try a natural approach first, and if it works, you'll save money, avoid surgical risks, and keep your natural lens, which will always be better than an artificial lens. Now, let me give you the complete protocol, step by step, exactly how I did it, and how hundreds of people who've written to me have done it successfully. The Natural Papaya Protocol for Cataracts, Intensive Phase, 30 to 90 days. Step 1, purchase. Buy ripe papayas. The skin should be yellow or yellow-orange, not green. When you press it lightly, it should give a little, but not be too soft. If it's too hard, let it ripen at room temperature for 2 to 3 days. You're going to need approximately 3 to 4 papayas per week, depending on their size. Estimated cost, $10 to $12 per week. Step 2, preparation. Every night, 30 minutes before bed, cut half of a medium papaya, remove the seeds and discard them, remove the peel, weigh the pulp. You want about 7 ounces, or 200 grams, which is approximately half of a medium papaya or a third of a large papaya. If you don't have a scale, use the palm of your hand as a reference. About 7 ounces or 200 grams of papaya is approximately the size of your open hand, including your fingers. Step 3. Consumption. Eat the pulp plain. Don't add sugar, honey, or any other sweetener. Don't mix it with yogurt, milk, or other fruits at this time. You can chew it thoroughly or make a smoothie by blending it with a little water, but without adding anything else. The reason is, you want to maximize the absorption of the active papain, and adding proteins or sugars interferes with that. Step 4. Timing. Consume it exactly 30 minutes before going to bed. Set an alarm if needed. After eating the papaya, don't eat anything else. You can drink water, but no solid food or caloric beverages. Go to bed approximately 30 minutes later. Ocular regeneration happens during deep sleep, so try to get at least 7 hours of sleep. Step 5. Consistency. Do this every day for at least 30 days. Don't skip days. Papain has a short half-life in the body, so you need daily replenishment to maintain therapeutic levels. Mark it on a calendar. Cross off each day that you do it. This will keep you motivated and help you track your progress. Step 6. Hydration. Drink at least 8 glasses of water per day during the protocol. Papain works best when you're well hydrated. Water also helps to eliminate the broken protein fragments. Through the eye's drainage systems. Step 7. Avoid. During the protocol, minimize your consumption of refined sugar, fried foods, and ultra-processed foods. These foods increase inflammation and oxidative stress, which work against the effect of papain. You don't have to be perfect, but try to reduce it by 50 to 70%. Step 8. Monitoring. Write down your visual experience weekly. Do you notice less haziness when you wake up? Have the light halos diminished? Can you read smaller letters? Get a visual acuity test at the optometrist every 3 to 4 weeks to get objective data. On day 30, schedule a complete eye exam with your eye doctor to document any changes. Step 9. Decision. On day 30, evaluate. If you've had objective improvement, continue for another 30 to 60 days until you reach maximum improvement. If you haven't seen any improvement, discuss with your eye doctor whether it's time to consider surgery. Don't keep pushing it indefinitely if it's not working, but give it an honest 30-day shot. Step 10. Maintenance. After you've reached your maximum improvement, reduce the frequency to 3 to 4 times per week. This maintains the result without requiring daily consumption. Continue monitoring with exams every 3 to 6 months. Advanced variation. If you want to potentially boost the protocol, add these elements. 1. Additional vitamin C. Take 500 milligrams of vitamin C in the morning, separate from the papaya. Vitamin C regenerates the oxidized papain and boosts ocular glutathione synthesis. 2. Lutein and zeaxanthin. Although they don't reverse cataracts on their own, they protect against progression. A dose of 10 milligrams of lutein and 2 milligrams of zeaxanthin per day is good. Natural sources include kale, spinach, and egg yolks. 3. Omega-3 reduces ocular inflammation. Dose of 1 to 2 grams of EPA plus DHA per day. Sources include wild salmon, sardines, or a high-quality fish oil supplement. 4. Avoid excessive blue light. Reduce screen time 2 hours before bed. Use blue light filters on devices. This minimizes additional oxidative stress on the clouded lens during the nighttime regeneration period. Now, expected results, because you need to know what's normal and what to expect. Week 1. First subtle signs. Some people report less visual haze upon waking. It could be placebo at this point, but it could also be real. The papain begins to circulate and have an effect from day one. Continue, regardless of whether you feel anything or not. Week 2, noticeable improvement in visual tasks. You may notice that you read a little better, recognize faces from further away, or drive with less difficulty. Light halos may begin to diminish. If you take a visual acuity test, you may see an improvement of 1 line on the Snellen chart, weeks 3 to 4, measurable objective improvement. Visual acuity exam shows an improvement of 1 to 2 lines. You feel renewed confidence in your vision. Family members may comment that you aren't asking for help reading things. If you have an eye exam at this point, the eye doctor may or may not see a reduction in cloudiness. It depends on the initial degree, weeks 5 to 8. Progressive improvement continues. Each week you notice small increments. Driving at night gets easier. Reading for long periods isn't as tiring. The haze that you've always had is significantly reduced. An acuity exam may show a total improvement of 2 to 3 lines, weeks 9 to 12. Maximum improvement or plateau. Most people achieve maximum improvement between 60 and 90 days. After that, the improvement stabilizes. An eye exam shows a clear reduction in cloudiness. The eye doctor documents the improvement. You have objective data that proves it worked. Important. Not everyone will have the same degree of improvement. Factors that influence this include the initial degree of the cataract. Grade 1 and 2 cataracts respond better than grade 3 and 4. Age. People between 60 and 75 tend to have better results than those over 80, probably because regenerative capacity is greater. General health. If you have poorly controlled diabetes, hypertension, or other conditions that affect circulation, the response may be less. Consistency. Skipping days or doing the protocol irregularly reduces effectiveness dramatically, but even with individual variations. Most people who follow the protocol correctly for 30 to 60 days see some degree of improvement, and any improvement is valuable when the alternative is surgery. Now, before we continue, I want to pause here and say something important. You've just received information that could save you thousands of dollars in surgery and avoid unnecessary risks. Information that the medical industry has no interest in publicizing because it's not profitable. I spent weeks researching scientific studies, testing it on myself, and now I'm sharing it with you for free. If this content was valuable to you, if you feel it can help someone you love avoid surgery, I ask that you consider the super thanks down below. It's not just financial support. It's you saying, this information is worth preserving and sharing. Few channels have the courage to reveal natural alternatives because they face pressure and criticism from the medical industry. Every super thanks I receive shows me that there's a community of people who value scientific truth above corporate profit. When you click that golden heart, you're not just supporting me, you're supporting the democratization of health information. You're saying that patients deserve to know all the options, not just the profitable ones, and you're funding the research and production of more content like this that can transform lives. So if you feel that this video gave you hope, gave you a path, gave you autonomy over your own health, show it with a super thanks. You're not just a spectator. You're part of a movement of people who refuse to be treated as passive customers and choose to be active patients. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to those who contribute. Now let's continue. More documented cases. Margaret, 70, Arizona, grade 2 cataract, 90-day protocol. Vision improved from 20/70 to 20/40. Cloudiness reduced from grade 2 to grade 1. Surgery cancelled. Thomas, 65, California. Grade 3 cataract, type 2 diabetic. 120-day protocol. Vision improved from 20/100 to 20/60. avoided urgent surgery. Linda, 68, Florida. Cataract plus elevated eye pressure, 60-day protocol. Vision improved from 20/80 to 20/50. Pressure dropped from 22 to 18. The protocol works in different ages and grades. It's not a magic cure, but it's a powerful tool. Now, I want you to know that this isn't the only video I'm going to make about natural eye health. If you want to know about other foods that protect the macula, about how to reduce eye pressure naturally, about truly effective supplements based on science, you need to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. But more important than that, I want to hear from you. Comment below if you're going to try this protocol. Write yes if you're going to start today. And in 30 days, come back here and comment your results. I'll read and respond. Let's create a community of anecdotal evidence that complements the science. How many here were pushed into surgery without trying a natural alternative? How many doctors said that cataracts are irreversible without even mentioning that there are studies showing the opposite? Leave your experience in the comments because it helps other people have the courage to try. And look, I know that some doctors will criticize this video. They'll say it's dangerous, that it's irresponsible, that I'm giving false hope. But I have scientific studies from Harvard, Indian studies, in vitro and in vivo studies showing that papain degrades cataract proteins. I have my own documented experience with before and after eye exams. I also have dozens of accounts from other people. So this isn't false hope. It's hope based on evidence. Evidence that the medical industry chooses to ignore because it's not profitable. And as long as eye doctors are financially incentivized to perform $5,000 surgeries, they're not going to tell you about a $3 fruit. That's just how the system works. But you have the right to know. You have the right to choose. And if you choose to try a natural approach first, with proper medical monitoring, you're not being irresponsible, you're being smart. So to wrap things up, if you're over 60, if you have early stage or moderate cataracts, if your eye doctor has mentioned surgery, before you schedule that procedure, try this. Buy a ripe papaya today. Start tonight. Do it religiously for 30 days. Get a follow-up eye exam on day 30. If it worked, you've saved money, avoided risk, and kept your natural lens. If it didn't work, you've lost 30 days and $40 on papayas. But at least you tried. The risk is minimal, the potential benefit is enormous. For me, it was worth every penny. For hundreds of other people, it was too. Now, it's your turn to find out. Remember, this content is for educational purposes and doesn't replace medical advice. Always consult your eye doctor before making decisions about cataract treatment. Don't discontinue medications or postpone necessary surgery without professional supervision. If you have advanced cataracts or complications, surgery may be the best option. This protocol is for early and moderate cases and should be attempted with proper medical monitoring. Now, go. Get your papaya. Start today. And in 30 days, come back here and tell me how it went. I'll be waiting. Good luck, and may your vision be restored naturally.